What's up, everybody? Back with another short episode trying to learn how to write some Python scripts. So, the first thing we're going to do is open up a new file, and for that, go here, new file. And the first thing I always do is I save my file as a Python script. Now, the reason why I do that is because as you're writing your Python code, so let me start some code. I'll hit enter a few times, give myself some space. Let's say I just do, x equals 2, right? That's just white. There's no color scheme to that. Now, when I save this as a Python script, this text editor, depending on if it's Python or Java or HTML or whatever, there's going to be a certain color scheme to whatever language you're writing your code in. So let me show you that. So save as Python script 1.py. So see how that changed the 2. So your numbers are going to be a certain color. The equal sign is that the operators are going to be a certain number, etc. So let's erase that. Now, in this little episode, I want to talk about variables. So I'm not a computer scientist. I'm an electrical engineer, and I approach code from that respect. So people who are computer scientists might look at my code and have all kinds of criticisms, and their criticisms will probably be fair. But nonetheless, I approach code from, like, in my own life where, we have some data sets we need to analyze. So we got to parse through data, create some plots, do some math to that data. Maybe we ran a test on some circuit boards where we had these circuit cards in a thermal chamber and we ran some hot and cold cycles, and we want to see different effects of the functionality of the boards during that test. So we have all this data saved from that, and we need to be able to analyze that. So with that being said, that's typically how I approach code writing, which is going to be sort of a different mindset from like a pure computer scientist type of way. And please, if you have any criticisms about the way I write code, please let me know. So a variable in any coding language is just going to be something that stores value, because you don't want to you need to perform calculations as you're writing code. So I'm going to create a variable, and you can name. Here's an important thing also. You can name your variable anything you want. So let's just name it variable 1 is equal to 2. And then I'm going to say variable 2 is equal to 3. Now I want to add these, so I'm going to say sum is equal to variable 1 plus variable 2. Then we're going to say print sum. Now I'm going to save that, Control S, and I need to go over to my command prompt and type in Python script 1.py, and it printed out 5. That's variable 1 plus variable 2. Now there's different types of variables, and we're just going to go over a couple for now. So in Python, or most other programming languages for that matter, you have numbers and different types of numbers. You have characters and you have strings. So these right here are numbers. Now, if let's say I want this to be a string, let's say I put it in quotations to make it a string. So now what this made this were like a piece of text. The number 3 as text, not as an actual number. So let's see what happens when we run that. Okay, we got this. Type error, unsupported operand type 4 plus int plus string. So obviously you can't add numbers and strings, right? That doesn't make sense. So you have to be aware of that. So as I said before, when you're parsing big data sets, you got to understand what your variables are. So a lot of times you'll catch a big data set, and you know, this is coming from a data set that's all ints, but this other one's not. So I could say int 3, Control S. Remember, you got to save it every time before you run it. And that I get 5 is what it should be. So what I did here is I had a string and I turned it into an int. Now I know this is kind of looks funny, like why would you do that? But nonetheless, it's just trying to show that one, you name variables. You can name a variable anything you want and assign it some value. That value could be a number, and it could be a letter or a word. It could be 3, 2, 1. Now, if I want it to be 3, 2, 1, once again, let me run that. I know I'm going kind of fast here. Boom, it doesn't run because int plus string, because the 3, 2, 1 is still a string. So let's turn that back to an int, and now this should be what, 321 plus 2? This should be 324, or 323, sorry. And there you have it. Now, there are different types of numbers here. So if I just put a dot, decimal point, and put 0, now this is no longer an int. So let's see what happens now when we add this. It should add. Okay, so what does this do? So this right here is an int, and this right here is a float. To show you that, I'll do this. Right, so we're adding a float and a string. So let's go back. So if you add a float and an int, it's going to automatically turn your answer into a float. But nonetheless, each of these are a numeric variable, and you can perform mathematical operations with those. So once again, just trying to keep this video short, just to give a quick intro to variables. But I'll do another short video after this and getting more into detail with stuff. And as soon as I start getting feedback on different things, we can start getting more into depth and writing actual programs.